of petroleum exporting countries and its allies to agree on output cuts, and Russia and other non-OPEC members. The discussion, which held via video conference, agreed on a compromise pact to slash 9.7 million barrels per day from the global oil output from May, a shift from the initial proposal of 10 million barrels per day. As soon as the news of the output cuts spread in the market, oil prices were up, with Brent crude benchmark, which was trading up 4.2%, up to $32.83 per barrel on Monday. However, many analysts said the rally in oil prices could be short-lived, while doubts persist on whether the cut in output would be enough to stabilize markets. OPEC Secretary General Mohamed Bakindo, at the end of the conference between the oil cartel and its partners, called the output cuts historic because the agreed output reductions are largest in volumes and the longest in duration, as they are planned to last for 2 years. In the course of Saudi and Russia's price war, productions were ramped up by two parties, making prices to tumble nearly $20 a barrel and resulted in supply overhang. Now, the key issues here are what impact would the historic agreement have on Nigeria's contributions to oil production and consequently on its economy. Nigeria is hopeful that the pact will lead to oil prices rebound at least $15 per barrel in the short term to medium term, providing the country the opportunity to earn an additional $2.8 billion above its revised budget estimate. This optimism is expected to enhance the country's potential earnings from crude exports above the recently adjusted budget estimate benchmark of $30 per barrel from the initial $57 per barrel in the 2020 approved budget. According to the pact, Nigeria is expected to cut its contributions to the global oil supply down to 1.412 million barrels of crude from May 1st to 30th June 2020. Subsequently, the peg will be relaxed to 1.495 million barrels per day from July 1st to December 31st, 2020. And finally, for the following 16 months, from January 1st, 2021 to April 30, 2022, Nigeria's oil output will be pegged at 1,579 million barrels per day. Management consultant and oil and gas policy analyst Michael Faniro joins me now via Skype for Abuja for more on this discussion. Thank you very much, Michael, for joining us on the show.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Mike, let's start with the implication of OPEC cuts. According to the Secretary General, he says it's historic. How historic would you say this is?
Yes, this is historic. About 9.7 million barrel per day cuts, and this is the largest single output cut in history of OPEC. So with that, I think it's historic. We said historic because this is the largest cut OPEC has ever embarked on.
Any silver lining for Nigeria in all of this? We see a rise already immediately.
Well, like you just rightly said, the rise could be short-lived. I don't have the crystal ball to know. However, because we know there's glut in the market, there are products on the sea that have not been sold that needs to be sold. So, and again, with the current pandemic in the world, the economy needs to be reactivated for demand to be created. Once there is no demand, price is about law of demand and supply. Once there is no demand, you expect the price to still be low because the industries are not back, the manufacturing companies are not back. Most of the country are on lockdown. France announced lockdown up until May. The same thing with Italy. US is still debating between the president and the governors when to open the economy. So until the demand is created, whatever price we are getting now, for me, is a bit artificial.
So you would agree that it's not really a good time for oil-producing countries, talking about countries like Nigeria, Angola, at this time, looking at sub-Saharan Africa?
It's not a good time for oil-producing economy who depend solely on oil. For example, Nigeria, more than 80% of our revenue comes from oil. More than 90% of our foreign earnings actually come from oil. And that is why it's not good for us. For a country like Russia, Russia produces more than Nigeria. But because oil is not the mainstay of their economy, so the impact on them will be low. And that is why the opportunity that we have here is for us to diversify. And I think the last time we had a recession in 2016, when this government came in 2015, 2016, the talk was around diversification. Everywhere you turn to then was around diversification. However, as soon as oil price came up, we forgot about that diversification. We went back to business as usual, and now we're in it again. So we should make that diversification something that we are serious about, so that when next cycle comes, because it's a cycle, it comes every time. It will go now, but again, the next few years, this will come again. It may not be COVID at that time. Something else will cause it. There's going to be another recession. There's going to be drop in oil prices. So we need to, this one should give us the opportunity for us to know that we need to be serious with diversification. Yes, we need to keep producing oil, but we need to make sure that the contribution of oil is not as much as how is significant in our economy today.
Now, before we move into deregulation or some other issues around the sector, we see a shift already in the price of PMS. That's talking about retail outlets. We from 125 naira, from 145 to 125, from 125 to 123 naira 50 kobo. Now, some are saying, looking at the drop in crude oil price, it's really not par. I don't know how that comes to you.
Well, what we have seen is that the price of PMS has come down because the price of crude has come down. However, whether it is our power or not depends on what we calculate, on how each one of us calculates it. But the official calculation is from triple PRA. However, triple PRA has not been very transparent with the template. If you go on their website now, I'm not sure you're going to see the template, how the price of 125 or 123.50 was arrived at currently. We cannot see on their website. So they need to be a bit more transparent, and we need to know how that one is arrived. If government says there's no under recovery and there's no over recovery, then we need to know how did they come about the price of 123 or 125. The regulatory agency actually needs to be a bit more transparent about that.
Michael, let's now look at deregulation of the downstream petroleum sector. It's been in the front burner even before now, but it's a topical issue again at the moment. What do you think about this?
It is a very welcome development. I'm so happy that government did not miss this opportunity like we missed in 2016. We had this opportunity in 2016, which we missed, but now price has come down again, and it's a very good opportunity. I'm so happy that the GMD of NNPC, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, have been talking about this, and we seem to have gone from that subsidy era. However, there's still quite a lot of need for caution. Beyond the declaration of deregulation, but by the way, we are not in a deregulated regime yet. Deregulation is quite different from what we are practicing now. What I think we have now is liberalization. And liberalization means when you allow different marketers to actually come in and supply the market. Before, we used to have NNPC as the sole importer. Now we have other marketers coming in to participate in the importation and distribution of petroleum products in Nigeria. And this is liberalization because now we still have government or the regulator still dictating the price of a deregulated economy. Everything is going to be left to the law of demand and supply. It's going to be left to the market forces to dictate the price of PMS. So what we have currently, and for me, I like what we have currently, the liberalized regime where governments still have kind of what I can call consumer protection. Otherwise, so that we are not subject to marketers and they don't exploit the consumers. So what we have currently is good until we are at that time when we are matured enough, we can now move to a full deregulated regime. So it is welcome. However, like I mentioned, there are still quite a lot of things for us to know. There are still a lot of clarifications that needs to be made if we want to know whether we are actually in a deregulated economy or subsidies removed or not. It's good to make declaration, but declaration needs to be backed by law. Declaration needs to be backed by policy of government. For example, I will highlight some of the things that I think needs to be sorted. For example, the Petroleum Equalization Fund (PEF) It's still there today. There's a law that created it, which makes it possible for us to sell PMS the same price we sell in Lagos, to sell it in Sokoto, to sell it in Akure, to sell it in Borno. It's still there. Is the law going to be repealed? We don't know. Nobody has told us. Is it going to be catered for in the PIB? Thank God the petroleum industry bill is in the making. So with this law, with this act, will it be repealed? What's going to happen to PEF? So we need to know about that. Again, like I mentioned earlier, we need to know what template are we using. Triple PRA needs to come out and tell us the template they are using. It must be public. It must be made available to the public. It must be reflective of current prices. Like, for example, a lot of people have done the calculation